Y'all treat all your patients like this or just the black ones?
Black men fear the police might unalive them in the streets. Black women fear doctors might unalive them in the hospital. When giving birth becomes a life-or-death gamble based on your skin color, that's not healthcare, that's warfare. We need to talk about something that should terrify every black woman in America and concern every black man who loves one. The black maternal mortality rate in this country is an absolute crisis, and nobody is treating it with the urgency it deserves. We are talking about black women dying during childbirth at rates 3 to 4 times higher than white women. Let me say that again so it really sinks in. 3 to 4 times higher in 2025 in the richest country in the world, going to the same hospitals with the same equipment in the same cities. How does that make any logical sense unless we acknowledge what it really is? Anti-black racism weaponized through the healthcare system. You know what really gets me about this? Black men have spent generations navigating the terror of police encounters, knowing that a routine traffic stop could turn deadly, that walking while black could be a crime, that existing in our own skin makes us targets. We have organized around that, built movements, demanded accountability, but black women are facing their own epidemic of violence, and it is happening in places that are supposed to heal us. It is happening on delivery tables, in hospital rooms, with doctors and nurses who take an oath to do no harm. How do you fight an enemy wearing scrubs? Let me break down the numbers because they are absolutely devastating. Black women in America die from pregnancy-related complications at a rate of about 55 deaths per 100,000 live births. White women, about 19 per 100,000. We are talking about the same medical system, the same technology, the same hospitals, but somehow when a black woman walks through those doors, her risk of dying just tripled. And before anybody tries to blame poverty or education or access, let me stop you right there. Serena Williams, one of the greatest athletes of all time, nearly died after giving birth because medical staff ignored her concerns about blood clots. If it can happen to Serena Williams, it can happen to any black woman. Think about what that means. You can be wealthy, educated, articulate, famous, and still have your pain dismissed, your symptoms ignored, your warnings brushed aside, because at the end of the day, the medical system sees your blackness before it sees your credentials. It sees your race before it sees your risk. And that bias, that ingrained anti-black racism, is literally killing us. Here is what is happening in these hospitals, and we need to call it exactly what it is. Black women report their pain and get told they are exaggerating. Black women describe symptoms and get dismissed as drug-seeking or dramatic. Black women advocate for themselves and get labeled as difficult patients. There is documented evidence that medical professionals, across the board, believe black people feel less pain than white people. They literally think our bodies are different, that we have some higher pain tolerance, that we are somehow built to suffer. That is not medicine, that is mythology left over from slavery, when they needed to justify torturing us. And the consequences are deadly. Black women are more likely to experience severe complications during childbirth. We are more likely to have preeclampsia go undiagnosed. We are more likely to hemorrhage without immediate intervention. We are more likely to have our concerns about postpartum complications ignored. Every step of the maternal health journey, from prenatal care through postpartum recovery, black women face barriers that white women do not encounter. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in practice. A black woman goes to the hospital in labor. She tells the nurse she is having chest pain, shortness of breath, symptoms that could indicate a serious complication. The nurse checks her chart, sees she has no history of heart problems, and decides it is just anxiety or stress. Meanwhile, a white woman with the same symptoms gets immediate attention, diagnostic tests, monitoring. Hours later, that black woman could be in cardiac arrest, and everybody is wondering how this happened when she told them something was wrong. This is not hypothetical. This happens over and over again. Black women are dying from preventable complications because their symptoms are not taken seriously. They are dying because medical staff make assumptions based on race rather than evidence. They are dying because the healthcare system values some lives more than others, and black lives have always been at the bottom of that calculation. Now, some people are going to say I am being divisive, that I am making everything about race, that good doctors treat everyone the same. But the data does not lie. Study after study shows that black patients receive different care than white patients. We are prescribed less pain medication, our symptoms are taken less seriously, we are subjected to more skepticism and less empathy. And when you combine that bias with the vulnerability of pregnancy and childbirth, you get a maternal mortality crisis that should be a national emergency. Here is what makes this even more sinister. This is not just about individual bad doctors or racist nurses. This is systemic. This is built into medical education, clinical guidelines, insurance reimbursement structures, hospital policies. The entire apparatus of American healthcare is calibrated to serve white patients first and best. Everyone else gets whatever is left over, and for Black women, what is left over is often inadequate to keep us alive. And we cannot ignore the economic factors either, even though this goes beyond money. Black women are more likely to be on Medicaid, which means hospitals get reimbursed less for our care. And you better believe that affects treatment. When your patient represents lower revenue, when there is less financial incentive to provide excellent care, when the system literally values you less in dollar terms, that shows up in outcomes. It shows up in shorter appointments, fewer tests, less monitoring, delayed interventions. Every corner that gets cut, every protocol that gets skipped, every concern that gets dismissed, those add up to dead Black mothers. But here is where it gets really real for our community. We need to start thinking strategically about survival. Studies have proven that Black patients have better outcomes when they are treated by Black medical professionals. We live longer, we have fewer complications, we get better care. And this is not about Black doctors being magical or special. This is about being seen as fully human, having your concerns taken seriously, being treated with the same urgency and care that white patients receive automatically. So what does that mean for us? It means we need more Black nurses, more Black doctors, more Black midwives, more Black doulas. We need Black women in every level of healthcare, from the nursing station to the operating room to the hospital administration. Because representation is not just about feeling good or seeing someone who looks like you. Representation saves lives. Having a Black healthcare provider might literally be the difference between life and death for a Black mother. And I am going to say something that is going to make some people uncomfortable, but it needs to be said. When we choose healthcare providers, we need to prioritize Black practitioners when we can. Not because we hate white doctors, not because we think Black doctors are inherently superior, but because the data shows that we are safer in their care. That is not racism, that is survival. That is using the information we have to protect ourselves and our families. We also need to start building our own systems of care. Birth centers run by and for Black women. Doula programs that provide culturally competent support. Community health workers who can advocate for Black mothers in hospital settings. Mutual aid networks that provide postpartum care and monitoring. We cannot wait for the white medical establishment to fix itself. We need to create alternatives that keep our women alive. Let me talk directly to the Black women for a minute. I need you to hear this. When you are pregnant, when you are in labor, when you are recovering postpartum, you have the right to advocate for yourself. You have the right to demand answers, to insist on tests, to get second opinions. If something feels wrong, if you are in pain, if you notice symptoms that concern you, speak up and keep speaking up until someone listens. Do not let anyone dismiss you. Do not let anyone make you feel like you are overreacting. Your life depends on being your own advocate. And bring backup. Bring your partner, your mother, your sister, your friend. Bring someone who can advocate for you when you are too exhausted or too vulnerable to fight. Someone who can document everything, who can ask questions, who can push back when medical staff are not taking you seriously. Because sometimes it takes a witness, someone who can say, no, she really is in pain. No, this is not normal. No, we need someone to check this right now. For the Black men, this is on us too. We need to be better partners, better advocates, better protectors in these spaces. When our wives, girlfriends, sisters, daughters are in the hospital giving birth, we cannot just sit there passively trusting the system to do right by them. We need to be asking questions, demanding explanations, making sure they get the care they deserve. We need to be ready to escalate, to call supervisors, to raise hell if necessary. Because the same system that sees us as threats in the streets sees our women as disposable in the hospitals. The Black maternal mortality crisis is not some abstract statistic. These are real women, real families, real babies growing up without their mothers. These are preventable deaths, unnecessary tragedies, lives that could have been saved with basic competent care and a little bit of empathy. But instead, we have a healthcare system that has declared war on Black mothers. Whether intentionally or through indifference, the result is the same. This is what systemic racism looks like. Not just police violence and mass incarceration, but also medical neglect and maternal mortality. It is the same anti-Blackness, just wearing different uniforms. The cop who sees a threat, the doctor who sees a problem patient, they are both operating from the same playbook that tells them Black lives do not matter as much. And every industry they control, they weaponize against us. Criminal justice system, weaponized. Educational system, weaponized. Financial system, weaponized. Healthcare system, you better believe it is weaponized. They take institutions that are supposed to serve everyone and turn them into tools of oppression and control. They take systems that are supposed to protect us and make them dangerous for us. So what do? We warn each other. We share information. We tell our daughters, our sisters, our friends about the risks. We educate ourselves about warning signs and complications. We research hospitals and doctors before choosing where to give birth. We connect with Black healthcare providers. We support each other through pregnancy and beyond. We build community networks that can fill the gaps the medical system leaves. And we demand better. We demand accountability when Black women die preventable deaths. We demand changes in medical education to address racial bias. We demand policies that protect Black mothers. We demand funding for community-based care alternatives. We demand that Black maternal health become the national emergency it actually is. Because right now, becoming a mother should not be a life-threatening proposition for Black women. Pregnancy should not require military-level strategic planning just to survive. Childbirth should not be scarier than any other risk we face, but that is where we are, and we need to face it head on. The Black maternal mortality rate is genocide in slow motion. It is a crisis that reveals how little this country values Black life, even at our most vulnerable moments. And until we recognize it for what it is, until we mobilize around it with the same urgency we bring to other forms of anti-Black violence, Black women will keep dying when they should be celebrating new life. We cannot save everyone, but we can save more. We can do better. We have to.